أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين صلاة والسلام عليك يا رسول الله. This is a podcast of the Deen of an Old Woman. Today I just want to look at the balance in creation and the balance that we have to acquire within ourselves in order to lead a good quality of life. We have to achieve that balance. Allah tells us in the Quran that those who know themselves know Allah. And it's a lifelong discovery. And the more obedient to the commandments we are, the more Allah discloses Himself to you and me. Which basically means when we follow the principles of Islam, and when we live by the Quran and Sunnah, Allah will disclose to us who we are and what our relationship should be with Allah, and how that relationship evolves day by day by day. And that's why Allah has given us 5 times salah. So when we pray 5 times a day, our relationships get stronger with Allah. Our knowledge of ourselves become more apparent, and our relationship and bond with Allah becomes stronger. In short, when we live by the book, which is the Quran, which is a direct Allah's speech given to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam via Angel Gabriel, and is exactly the way it was delivered. Not a dot has been changed. And if you want to verify it for yourself, there are 4 Qur'ans that are still present that have been written 1400 years ago. And a recent one was the manuscript that was found in Birmingham. And they did this sort of computer analysis, and they found out it is the original copy 1400 years ago. I think it's online, so you could have a look and go to your Mus'haf and open the page. It will be identical. To have certainty, this is the word of Allah. There's no doubt. So this certainty should lead us to follow His book. The more we understand Allah's book, the more benefit we will reap, because the better life we will live. The foundation of our understanding who we are, it could be found in the Quran. Allah tells us that we are the best of creation. So can you imagine how Allah created all this magnificent universe with thousands and thousands of galaxies, which are thousands and millions and billions larger than our own little Earth. This little Earth, hardly anyone has journeyed through the whole land, although it's only a tiny, tiny world in comparison to the massive galaxy out there. So it's absolutely mind-boggling when you think that you and I, are the best of creation. This should give us time to reflect that if we are the best of creation, how honored and how blessed and how privileged and how fortunate we are. We should take that opportunity in renewing and strengthening our relationship with our true creator of the heaven and earth, Allah, who created us, and that He chose us among all of His other creation. This realization should instill, or it should give us self-worth and self-esteem and self-confidence in ourselves, and to be positive. A lot of the times in our insecurities and our anxieties, are being uncomfortable, are being agitated and being not pleased and not happy stems from the fact that we do not value ourselves. In order to value ourselves, we have to know who we are. And again, as I said, we are the best of creation. We don't need validation from anyone. Allah tells us we are best of creation. Allah created us in such a way that we have a body and a soul. And Allah wants us to balance those two entities. It's very easy to see the outer, which is our bodies, because we could see them. Because the ruh, the soul, the spirit, which is within us, we can't see, but exists, and that is a true essence of ourselves. We have to learn about it, recognize it, acknowledge it, and see what is good for it. We know to live a balanced way of life, we need balanced diet, and we need exercises, and we need good working regime and a good structure in our life. Anybody will tell you who deals with human nutrition that how important it is to have a balanced food. So we can balance that aspect of our life, but we also have to balance the inner being, which is our true essence. The body came from earth and is nourished by the earth, by the fruit and the vegetable, and even when we eat a chicken, and the chickens eat the grains, and the grains come from the earth. So because the body is created from the earth, its nutrients are also created from the earth, so we take food. However, the soul, the inner being, our ruh, has been created in heaven. It comes from the heaven, not from this earth. So in order to balance that within us, we have to seek the heavenly guidance from the home of the spirit, from the home of the soul. And that comes in a form of revelations that came to the previous prophets, like Adam and Abraham and Moses and Suleiman and David and Jesus and Muhammad, peace be on all of them. Allah sent them revelation so that we nurture and replenish and feed our soul. So we achieve a balance in the inside as well as the body. That's why Allah has given us Sharia Islamic law that places the boundaries. It tells you how to conduct our daily life. It tells you how to pray. It tells you how to use the bathroom. It tells you how to eat, with which hand to eat. Wallahi, look at the mercy of Allah. He never left us confused or uncertain or lack of knowledge how we're supposed to live this life. Every detail has been given so that we achieve a balance in our life. It's crucial to achieve a balance between our ruh, our soul, and our body. And Islam is the only way of life that gives us this knowledge how to achieve this state. Look how Allah has created all the world for us. And on top of this, He has guided us how to interact with His creation and with each other. Subhanallah. Allah He didn't just create us, left us. He created us. He is with us every moment, guiding us, directing us, helping us, being there for us, being there with us with all our challenges and at happy times. It's up to us to be aware. So it's really important that we live by the book by Allah's revelation, the Quran, and that we achieve that balance that is everywhere in the universe. Look how everything Allah created in such sophistication and precise way, that the precision of everything around us, everything in balance. Look at the little spider, how weaves its web. It knows what to do, so it fulfills its function. We human beings, our purpose is to worship Allah. So when we fulfill that purpose, we achieve a balance. It's like when a thing is created for a particular purpose, it is used for that purpose. If it's not used for that purpose, it will harm itself and harm other things. For instance, take the example of iron. Iron is, iron, what you iron the clothes with. Iron is made so we can iron the clothes. Does anybody use iron as a hairdryer? You'd think they would be mad. Because iron is created for a particular purpose. The hairdryer is created for a particular purpose. Similarly, we are created for a particular purpose. And when we don't fulfill that purpose, that's when we get into trouble. So many times we see that our emotions are all over the place. But Allah tells us that these emotions were created for a purpose. So when we use the emotions correctly, we achieve emotional stability and emotional intelligence. By this I mean Allah has put fear in us. Not to fear intensively of spiders. No, the fear is instilled in us so that we are cautious and mindful of Allah's rules, regulation and commands. That we live a commonsensical life, so that we should fear the traffic, say on the motorway. If we don't have fear, we can just walk in front of a car. Just get out of a car when we're driving the motorway and you think you want to go on the other side. No, fear is there to protect for our survival, for our body. Similarly, fear is there for our emotional stability. Allah tells us that a believer lives by two things, fear and hope. And Imam Rumi so beautiful have said that if you imagine a bird, it has to have two wings, fear and hope to fly, and its head is love. So these emotions are important in our journey towards Allah. And we all are journeying towards Allah, whether we know it or not, whether we like it or not. Each one of us are on this invisible spiritual escalators that are taking us towards Allah. Now let us look at the biggest social experiment that was done to discover what makes a person happy. 700 people were asked general questions about their life over 75 periods. So they were assessed after leaving university, during their marriage, after having children, and finally towards their retirement. Towards the end, the experiment only had 56 people remaining. Obviously, the others must have passed away. The results showed that the things that make us most happy is not wealth, is not fame, is not a job achievement, but good relationship. Good relationships are extremely important for our psychological well-being, for our emotional stability, for our happiness and our well-being. Now, why did I mention that experiment? I want to explain to you that how merciful Allah has given us the Quran, and in it there are many surahs in the Quran that explain the right of others on us and what is the right of us on others. So instead of just reacting in our relationship to our spouses, to our family, to our friends, to our colleagues, Allah has shown us the response so that when we give that response and we don't react, we nurture a loving relationship. So Allah tells us the right over us, that what we have over our spouses and what they have over us, the right of children. Yep, the children have right over the parents, and the parents have right over the children. The relatives have rights over each other. The neighbors have right over us as well. The reason why these relationships have been described in details because the Master who created us know that our happiness lies and how we to achieve this happiness. As we are the best of creation, Allah wants us to have the very best life. Later on in another podcast, I think it'd be nice to explore the relationship and what Allah requires from us so that we are not left in the dark. We know exactly what is required of us. When we are ignorant of the fact who we are, we have identity crisis and become confused and miserable, unhappy, discontented, anxious, depressed, sad, negative, and confused all the time because we don't know what to do, and and as a result we have a lot of stress. And people normally says, when you ask them how you are, and they say, oh, there's lots going on. The reason there's lots going on because they don't know. They have this identity crisis where they don't know who they are. That's why Allah tells us in the Quran who we are. We are the best of creation, providing we fulfill the commandment of Allah and what's required of Allah, to be true slave of Allah and to worship Him. By doing that, we evolve in knowing ourselves, who we are, and we become comfortable with ourselves. When we don't know who we are, we drift in the wind and we want to please everybody, and we want validation from everybody, and we want acceptance from everybody. But that never happens. We can't make everybody happy. No matter how much we try, it will not happen. So doesn't it make it common sense that we seek the acceptance and the validation and pleasure of just one true God? And it's so simple to make Allah happy. It's complicated and difficult to make other people happy, because all people are different and they all have different expectations and they all have different requirements. How can we try to fulfill all that? When we do, when we can never achieve it, that's when we become depressed and sad. And we know that the most developed countries, unfortunately, are the countries that the most people are depressed, because lots of them on antidepressant. So when we try to run around trying to please everybody, as a result we become insecure and start to develop low self-esteem, which not only affects our own perception of ourselves, but it has direct effect on our performance in every aspect of our lives. We become anxious and defensive people, which will further escalate in undesirable behavior and broken relationship and pain. We become generally unhappy, depressed, and angry at the world. We met so many people who are so unhappy because of broken relationships. And that's why they turn to substance misuse in order to block out that pain. So they might become drug addict, alcoholics. And when you trace it back and back and back, it goes to the fact that the relationships were not correct, or not what they wanted from a relationship, or not what they expected. So isn't it only right that we just please one true God And the fact of the matter is Allah who gives us contentment. It's Allah who regulates our emotions. Allah tells us in the Quran, it's I who make you cry and it's I who make you laugh. So if our emotional state is in the hands of Allah, why do we look at other people to get their emotional satisfaction and stability when Allah tells us it's from Him? And it's very simple, just to live a harmonious and a tranquil and balanced life by pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This lower esteem that we start developing when we are not true slaves of Allah, this can result in defensive behavior, where the individual take their own right more important than the right of others. They fail to see their own fault and always blaming the others. How many times we have met people, or we ourselves, blame others for our own failures, for our own shortcomings, for our own lack of responsibility and accountability. And it's so annoying when you hear other people blaming and you know it's their own fault. Yet we are blinded to the fact that we fall in exactly the same category. We are doing exactly the same. This self-awareness becomes when you obey Allah's commandment and you live an Islamic way of life. So they fail to see their own fault and they're always blaming the others. And they're insensitive to others. And they spiral, that they do not realize it developing into seeking power, becoming manipulative and selfish and controlling to others. And nobody likes a selfish person. No one likes a proud person. No one likes a liar. Everybody likes honesty, justice, compassion, mercy, loving. In order to achieve all those personalities or character, all we have to do is follow the Quran and Sunnah. Going back to the Quran and Sunnah will show and explain to us who we are, why we are here, what is our purpose, and where we are heading, and how to carve relationships with others and with Allah. So, in conclusion, I just want to reiterate again and again to myself and to you the importance of living by the Quran and Sunnah. Thank you.